This is Dr. Mark Hithcock back for another episode of Marking the Times, and it's great to be back here in Edmond, Oklahoma. My family and I have been gone for a couple weeks out to New Mexico. Cheryl and I were out there for a little bit over 2 weeks, and our son Justin and his family came out there and spent several days with us and had an opportunity to just enjoy the cool weather out there like a lot of you have gotten away this summer, and played a little bit of golf. I got my shirt here to prove that Rainmakers golf course. We got to play a lot of times out there. So anyway, it's a wonderful opportunity to be away, and we appreciate that opportunity. But as you know, it's always great to be back home again, and we're looking forward to getting back into the swing of ministry here at Faith Bible Church and the teaching at Dallas Seminary, and also these Marking the Time videos. You know, when we were gone on vacation, I watched a lot of news, did a lot of reading, obviously, while I was there. And one thing I noticed is Turkey, Iran, and Russia are in the news every day. You've got the situation in Turkey where, you know, Pastor Andrew Brunson has been wrongly imprisoned there. And by the way, we need to be praying for him and his family and for his release. But because of that and because of other things, you know, we've put sanctions on Turkey. And Turkey's economy right now is in free fall. I mean, it's a terrible situation for them. But I think us putting the sanctions on them and the tariffs on them is the right thing to do. But it's caused their economy to go into a free fall. And, you know, people are worried about another mass immigration, people from Turkey leaving to flee to Europe. But it's really angered the leadership of Turkey against the United States. You have Iran right now. We've placed sanctions on Iran. The U.S. has gotten out of the Iran nuclear deal, which was a bad deal from the beginning. We've pulled out of that, and their currency, the rial, is in dire straits as well, and their economy is having problems. And one of the things I see with both of these nations is you kind of wonder which way is it going to go. Because in some ways in Iran, they're saying that some of the people there are angry at the United States because we're putting these sanctions on them, and that's hurting their economy. Other people are saying, well, the people over there are angry with their government because it's their government and their leadership. It's the mullah regime, the Islamic radical regime there that's causing the problems. So it could cause the people to hate the U.S. more and Israel more, which could precipitate and trigger events in the Middle East. Or it could cause the people to rise up and revolt against the government in Iran, which could topple the government there, which would obviously be a very positive thing. So there's a lot of desperation in these countries. Also with Russia, they've been in the news every day, of course, with all the Russian collusion investigation and all of that. But they're in the news because we've put biting sanctions on them that are going to continue to ratchet up as well, which is hurting their economy. So when I look at these three nations, it's fascinating because when you read Ezekiel 38 and 39, 6 of the places of the 10 places mentioned in Ezekiel 38 are in Turkey, Russia, and Iran. You have Meshech, Tubal, Gomer, and Togarmah mentioned, which are all in modern-day Turkey. You have Rosh, which is Russia, possibly Magog, which is Russia, and then you have Persia mentioned there, which is modern-day Iran. So at least 6 or 7 of the places mentioned could be in Turkey, Iran, and Russia. So I just mentioned that because these nations are front and center in the news every day, and with the sanctions being placed upon them, they're becoming more desperate. And when these nations become desperate, for instance, you take Iran, if they believe that their government is going to be toppled, that could lead them to take some desperate action against Israel or trigger some events in the Middle East. Kind of as almost a Samson strategy. As they're going down, they're going to take everything down with them. And I just bring these three nations up and what's happening in them right now because they're allies of one another. They're all nations that are desperate. They're nations that are hurting. And these are 3 of the key nations in Ezekiel 38 that the Bible says will invade Israel, this northern invasion of Israel in the end times. And so what we see happening in these nations today, I think, is really points toward or strikingly foreshadows what we see in Ezekiel 38, because all of these nations hate Israel. They hate the United States. They'd love nothing more than to cause Israel problems, and through that cause the United States problems. So these are kind of the key players over in the Middle East today and in that part of the world. Obviously, Iran and Russia are all involved in Syria. Turkey's involved there, right? Because Syria is on the southern border of Turkey. So what we see happening is really interesting to me from a prophetic viewpoint, especially Ezekiel 38. And again, what we see today, these things aren't the fulfillments of any prophecies. but again, they foreshadow and they set the stage for what's coming. Next time I want to talk a little bit about signs of the times. Got a good question about that in, so I want to cover that next time. We'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.